Paul Whitcake, founder of the Alliance of Chief Executives. Welcome to the 10th edition of our series on how CEOs are using AI to drive our businesses. And today we're talking about AI agents, swarms to automate our business processes. We're all learning about AI and we're learning together. And so by coming together, we believe we can learn faster by sharing what we're doing, what's working, what's not working. We've increased the percentage of CEOs that are using AI in our businesses from 70% to 84% over the last 8 months. And those who are experiencing positive and meaningful results have increased from 50% to 64%. So we are learning. We've made a change in the agenda today because based on the feedback, people wanted to spend a little more time in our breakout groups where they're talking to other CEOs who are using AI and sharing different use cases and meeting the other CEOs and learning from each other. So instead of 30 minutes, we're going to be having close to an hour in our breakout groups after about a half hour of our conversation between our moderator and guest CEO today. And at the end, we'll come back to this main lobby for about 5 minutes, just summarizing, see if there's any major insights that we've gained. And both Matthew and I and our guest CEO, Mehdi, will be hanging around afterwards. If anybody has some other questions or want to continue the conversation for a little while, we're happy to do so. And so now I want to get it going, and I'm going to reintroduce our moderator, Matthew Swanson, founder of the Silicon Valley Software Group, who just announced this week the rebranding of his firm to Motion Enterprises, which will allow companies to onboard AI agents to operate alongside a workforce, giving employees the tools to magnify their output. So with that, Matthew, take it away.
Well, thank you, Paul. And it's fun to think that this is coming up on a year of doing this series where we introduce AI use cases inside of businesses. It's been an exciting past year. We left off the series in November with some trends that we were forecasting for the year ahead, including AI agents, voice use cases, even new pricing models, new business models of what we can expect to see as agents start to do more labor. So we're going to continue on that track today with our subject around computer use. And we're going to talk about how AI agents now have this new capability that allows them to click around software and how they can organize into swarms to do very interesting business process automation. So joining us for this discussion is Mehdi Jabri from Revo PM. Revo is an AI agent that orchestrates various product management business use cases. So things like market research, stakeholder interviews, product roadmap planning. It's an early demonstration of what these new AI agents are able to do, human-like labor. So excited to have Mehdi join us here and to orient Mehdi with the audience here. We wanted to do a few just rapid-fire questions. So this series has been all about how CEOs are using AI in their business. So, real quick question, what's your favorite AI tool?
Yeah, this is obvious. This is our brainchild. Revo is our favorite tool, obviously, because we're building it on a daily basis and we're in love with it.
What's your second favorite tool?
I was very much in love with Claude when it released because I love the tone and the power of Sonnet.
Yeah, I've been very impressed as well.
That sounded weird, though, being in love with Claude. I just realized.
Yeah, well, we're all still figuring out the branding here. So, everyone here has been in the hot seat of running a business. Maybe you could share a vulnerable moment of, some of the challenges or near-death experiences you might have had at your early stage startup.
Yeah, this particular period is pretty painful for us right now. We got lots of clients being very excited about deploying Revo, and right now it's humans deploying it for clients, and we need to hire more solutions engineer, more sales. It's very hard to follow the demand, which is the which is difficult when you finally start like these things starting picking up. So, uh, but now Revo which will soon like sell itself and onboard itself. So excited about that.
Yeah, well, that's the promise of AI agents. So exciting to hear you're eating your dog food there. Another kind of tenet here as business leaders, we all, are in the business of making money, but also promoting values. And maybe you can share with us one of your core values you hold nearest.
Honesty, being true to yourself. If you're honest to yourself and you really align with your core principle and who you are, and don't lie to yourself in the mirror or to others, you do your best work because everything else gets aligned.
Excellent. Honesty can be brutal, but invaluable. Final question, just to set things up here. 1 year from now, what are we going to be all talking about as it relates to AI? What are we going to be covering in this series?
Probably what is left for us to do. My agents are doing like 99% of the work, and now what's exciting is optimizing for that one last percent that is weirdly interesting for us humans. Maybe not in 1 year, but we get closer to that. Pretty confident about this.
Yep, soon enough. All right, well, I think we see where you're coming from. Let's jump into our topic here. We're going to have two core topics. The first is introducing this idea of computer use. So in the past, we've talked about properties of agents, one of them being that agents are able to use tools. Simple examples like email can be considered to be a tool that an agent can choose to use to get work done. Well, now there's a whole new category of skills, of tools, dubbed computer use, where agents can now look at a screen just like an employee would and click around. And so Anthropic came out with their version late last year. You may have seen some examples of that agent clicking around. OpenAI earlier this month came out with Operator doing the same thing. So going to browsers and finding information or clicking around enterprise software. So we're going to talk about this subject as it relates to business use cases. But to illustrate, to give a little bit of context, we're going to show an example of an AI agent using computer use to operate enterprise software. And so the first use case we're going to show, this is given inside of a tool that we built at SVSG called Motion. We use it to go and orchestrate marketing campaigns. Our customers use it for sales and retention and other things. But the key thing we're going to demonstrate is, you can see from this interface, it's very simple. We type to Motion, and then Motion agents do the clicking. So this is the computer use capability we want to demonstrate. So, this example is a demo, but it's of a pretty familiar situation. Let's say you have people who are familiar with your brand, but you haven't spoken with them in quite some time. So Motion agents are able to run these go-to-market motions to warm up accounts before reaching out. So that's what we're about to see here. So we've asked Motion to create an engagement journey in HubSpot for a particular user. And we're going to see is the screen switch over to the agent's interface. So from here on out, this is the agent clicking around, in this case, HubSpot. It has its own user ID. It authenticates just like an employee would. And then when it gets into the task at hand to create this custom journey, it has learned how to click around HubSpot software. So, if you have employees on staff using HubSpot, they're learning this through tutorials. So are these agents now. And what we're going to see is the agent can do very sophisticated things. There's a lot of nuances, a lot of powerful capabilities that Salesforce, HubSpot have that most companies don't take advantage of because they're just so nuanced. And that's really kind of where we're at right now with computer use. Agents can go, and in this case, the agent's deciding to introduce advertisements to the user before sending them an email, and it can actually track whether the prospect saw the ad before the email gets sent. So you can imagine, how much more effective these sort of campaigns can be when you combine different marketing activities together. So this is just to give us a sense of what agents can now do with computer use. I'd like to now turn the discussion to Mehdi to talk about some of the implications. So, first off, we just saw.
Can I ask a
an agent.
question?
Is that Paul? Sure, go for it.
Yeah. Sorry if I'm slow here or being too human, but what you were demonstrating, was that supposed to be a customer experience, a technologist experience, a process manager experience? Because I couldn't really see how it was saving me time.
Yeah, and we're going to stay on at the end of the session to go through particular questions, but I think other people might have the same question. We just saw an agent go into software just like an employee would to create a journey for a customer that a customer would eventually see HubSpot deliver to them. That's what that agent was doing.
The agent was programming the back end of HubSpot for a marketing campaign. So that's what your employee would be doing, and then they would execute it. It looked to me like it's just like an RPA. I mean, it knows the latitudes and longitudes and where to find those buttons on its own, Matt, or do you have to tell it where to go and find those buttons?
Well, again, probably not going to be able to get into all the nuances here, but
All right, I'll wait till I'll
difference.
put that till later. I'll
Yeah,
go.
and please do enter your questions in the chat here. We're gonna save some time at the end. But yeah, the main thing to point out is these agents are using computer use, which means it's computer vision. They're actually looking at the screen. So it's not the same as RPA where you have to program it and tell it to go and click this button. You can ask it more general requests, and it will find the button for you on its own, which opens up a lot more use cases. So as we turn the conversation to kind of more of the general implications behind computer use, Mehdi, we just looked at a marketing use case, but clearly, if agents can now click around enterprise software in this fashion, there's all sorts of new use cases that businesses can explore. I guess kind of, where are you seeing some of the top applications of AI agents applying computer use inside of a business?
So this is a glimpse to your future workforce. This is representing what an employee would do for you. But instead of having like 100 humans working for you 40 hours a week and representing 40,000 hours, that would be like 100 humans plus 900 agents doing millions of tasks. And having access to an interface like what you just showed, Matthew, is giving AI the power to use the existing tools of your company to start executing some of the existing workflows and processes without having to reinvent everything. In the future, AI will just talk to other AIs and APIs, and it won't need an interface. But in this phase, having the opportunity to let agents use your existing tools allows you to communicate with it in a visual way and for it to execute tasks in the tools you already use. So this is a great segue to the future. This is very powerful because this is an analogy we all understand and allows us to deploy those agents in tools that are familiar to us humans.
I think that's a key point to kind of go a little deeper into. So, one of the implications behind computer use is they're using the interface that is designed for employees. So in the past, someone brought up, I think Aaron brought up RPA. We've had tools that can use APIs and use back-end things that, non-technical people can't really interact with. But now that the agents are clicking around software like employees are, it really does change the scope of what business processes can be addressed. I really would just kind of like to paint a landscape here. You know, where do you expect, you know, we're still pretty early, but moving really quickly. Where are some of the killer use cases that are, you know, relatable to anyone in this audience?
There are many tools. On every industry, there are many tools that are already deployed and that have become really complex. The SAP, GR, ERPs, Salesforce, all these tools have lots of options, lots of balance, lots of custom fields that people have to struggle with and fight with on a daily basis to execute their work. Some of it is sometimes very time consuming and very repetitive. The power of AI is that it knows how Salesforce works. It knows how SAP works. It knows everything about all these interfaces because the documentation of these tools was mostly already part of their training. And now I can retrace how we got there. We started with the first LLMs. It was not chat. You would put you would get the opportunity to give an input and just get one output. There was no like back and forth. And you would give like a few examples of the output you wanted. We call like a one shot example or few shot example. Give a few example of the output you expect. You write your query and you get that answer, and that's it. And then OpenAI came up with ChatGPT. That was a great innovation. That sounds trivial today. That was like a really massive innovation for everyone, turning LLMs into a UX that you can easily adopt. The problem with that is that the LLM is kind of sleeping until you query it. It doesn't do anything. It's waiting for you. So unless you query something, nothing's going to happen. And then you ask your query, it's going to run compute. We call it inference. It's going to run this compute inference process, and then it gives you an answer. And that's it. That was the first phase. And then people started thinking, how about we let the chat do things? Maybe it can browse the web. Maybe it can execute a function. And we developed function calling that allows you the chat to understand what you want and execute APIs for you to do one task for you, or maybe 2-3 tasks for you at a time. And then people started thinking about agents. How about we let these chat talk to each other and trigger each other without a human being in the loop? That could be fun. And people started building like these chat interfaces that talk to each other. And now we're in the era of agents where you actually let AI being programmatically, those LLMs, instead of querying them with chat, you let programs trigger the chat themselves. And then you can get this chains of one LLM giving an answer and giving that answer to the next LLM. It's going to take it as an input. And this chain looks like an RPA. And when you combine this deterministic node, which is like RPA, classic programming, deterministic code, with probabilistic, you can get something beautiful. You can say, hey, I want my AI to do these tasks on a reliable basis. That's how we do it as humans. But in some parts of the job, it needs to be able to interpret things, to understand things on its own, to navigate on its own. I cannot tell it exactly which button to click. I cannot tell it exactly what to do. It has to be able to interpret and leverage all this knowledge it has to help me like make this workflow really magic by, all the complexity that is hidden at every step should be able to be done without me having to explain every single step. RPA stands for robotic process automation. You can just think of it as automation.
Very helpful context there. So, it is a paradigm shift, right? And we're seeing people even ask, like, wait, so what's different than the past? Well, the magic's almost in the background as the agents are talking to themselves and doing all the work. It's handling a lot of ambiguity that normally employees would handle. And so, maybe a good follow-on question here is, if you think about these AI agents and now they can click around software, and there's so many types of desk work jobs that employees are doing today, where do you start? How do you even identify the most promising starting point if somebody wants to start bringing AI agents into their workforce?
Yeah, you need to squash the low-hanging fruit and to do it as soon as possible. Everyone should be thinking about what are the workflows in my company. You need to start thinking like what are people doing and how are these processes done? Because a lot of them are going to be automated by your competitors. You cannot just hang around and wait like, for things to develop because some of the companies we work with, they are like very actively and intentionally mapping everything that is done. The company is like you get the input, you get the output. What is the output? Is it profit? Is it value? What is input? Is it like man hours? Is it materials? Is it like knowledge? Is it data? What is it? In the between is just workflows, and we execute it as human, but a lot of AI agents are going to execute them right now in the next month in 2025. It's the year of the agents for sure, and some people with like 10x less employees, 10 times less employees are going to be able in some industry to do what some people are doing today, which is just humans. So I really advise that the first step is to identify workflows and think about each of them. Okay, maybe my CEO is telling me this workflow is way too complex to be automated by an agent, even partially. I would challenge everything. I would say, no, let's explore this. Maybe an agent can do it. And when you start being creative and you have the best tools in your hands, when you have the best agents and the best AI teams working on that, you realize that a lot of what we do can be run by an autonomous agent. And that's a bit scary because it's going to change a lot of things.
Well,
As
so
for
Mehdi, it is a little bit disruptive, right? And it could be jarring if folks here aren't using agents yet, but at the same time, it's an opportunity. And so, let's talk about that side of that perspective here. Let's say you aren't a new AI company, and you have a lot of established business process. Today, you've got a lot of existing enterprise software installed. What's the best way to approach AI agents? Do you have any suggestions on identifying use cases or making this easier for the workforce to adopt?
Yeah, so I would say first thing is to understand that it's key to understand that we are way beyond the chat phase. AI is not a chat. It's working on its own in the background. We have eyes, we have ears, so we capture data on a continuous basis as human. And the equivalent of that for AI is events, listeners, webhooks, cron job. It means a program running on its own. Every minute, every 5 minutes, it's going to look for new data and it's going to use this input to start a new workflow autonomously. I can give you a few examples. Let's say I get tons of user tickets, support tickets on Zendesk or Salesforce from customers. Can be sales tickets or support. In these tickets, there is a gold mine for many companies, which is user feedback. Lots of user feedback for our engineering product teams. This user feedback, people used to read it every now and then when they had the time, and it's very time consuming because there's so much of it. Some of our clients have like 30,000 tickets per week. Now our AI can read every single one of them each time it's written by people. It can automatically label it. It can label very granularly what people are saying and put multiple labels. It can extract just what is interesting for us, for example, as a product team. It can do a sentiment analysis. And the first job it's going to do is just going to listen and read all these tickets and store them into its memory. Once you have this, you already have done a part of the job that is very critical and that many people were doing manually until now. Then you can ask it, you know what? So ours is Revo. We say Revo every week. I want you to check all the new feedback items. Then I want you to make clusters based on the different labels we have. And for each cluster, I want you to summarize them and extract all the themes and all the important information I should have. And then for each label, it's going to send me a report. And it's going to send me it's going to send me like a synthesized report of all the sub-reports. And this is a workflow I just defined by describing to our tool. We describe, hey, I need to understand our user feedback. I need to understand what's going on. I need to understand what people want, what are the pain points of people. Another way to see it is like, I also want to know whenever there is an anomaly, when there's something going wrong, and I want to know it fast. So I want Revo to scan all these tickets and send me an immediate notification as soon as there's something that might be interesting or useful or urgent for me. I can do this with competitors. I can do this with Jira tickets to know what's going on internally. I can put Revo on Microsoft Teams or Slack and listen to all our conversations and tell us, hey, Revo, I want you to start building a decision log of everything we decided. So in 3 months from now, I can come back to you and ask you, hey, why did we decide this 3 months ago? Who decided this and why? And Revo will remember this because it's all into its memory. And what we call memory is a vector database. That's the new memory for agents. A vector database is a database that you can where you can retrieve data semantically. So it's not just like SQL queries when you just like type keywords. Here you can type any sentence, and it will find whatever is related to that sentence using those vector searches.
So Mehdi, I think you just shared with us some things to aspire to. There are, a lot of the examples you're sharing are new ways of solving historical problems. You can rethink business process if it's, if you're using AI agents, you would likely create the task differently than, if you were just to rely on employees. And so I see a lot of great questions here. We're going to stick around at the end. If you want to follow up on any of those questions. But before we leave off into the breakout group, I wanted to leave the group with one other more traditional example of AI agents. And we did promise to talk about swarms. So, we showed how agents now have computer use. How an individual agent can go and click around enterprise software. Well, what we're going to be covering in this series as we go are the implications, which are teams of agents or swarms of agents going to accomplish a task. So just as a visual, what this looks like, we can ask a tool like Motion to go to Craigslist and gather all used car listings. If you've ever tried to do this, tools like platforms like Facebook and Craigslist are really specialized in detecting bots. So you can't go and scrape this content. What you're seeing here is a swarm of agents. You're seeing 9 different desktops here of different agents, all going to Craigslist and orchestrating amongst themselves to collect different listings, different car listings. And you'll see that, the actions that the agent is taking, they're all slightly different. This is generative, right? Versus RPA, for example. And because of that, it looks like a human's going through and clicking around. That's what Craigslist is seeing. And so, you can imagine all sorts of use cases that you might apply to your business if you can use AI agents in this way. So we're going to leave it at that. And hopefully that inspires the breakout sessions. Paul, can you take us away?
Thank you. Thank you, Matthew and Mehdi. And as I mentioned, we will be breaking into subgroups here. I may be adjusting as we go along, but there should be a moderator in each room. Just briefly introduce yourself and share just briefly what use case you have already experimented with and are driving results that you'd be willing to share for the group, and enjoy. Half of it's meeting other CEOs doing in different industries, doing different things, and we learn from each other. So with that, we'll open up the rooms and come back at about 55 minutes. All right.